everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca if you are new, and today I'm going to be wrapping up the books that I read in July. So because I read 30 books in June, I was really looking to take a bit of a reading break. I also got to start working from home, so it was a bit of transition. There were just like other things that were going on, so I decided that I was going to take it easy in July. I set a goal of 10 books, but I didn't really care if I met it. I did. But honestly, it was just like a relaxed reading month, and that was really great. To be honest, I don't have any standout books. I've got one graphic novel that I really loved, but I would say the majority of these books are going to be 4 or lower. Okay, and this was a very strange reading month for me as well because I read 2 horror novels and a thriller. Technically, I guess 2 horror and 2 thrillers, which is very rare for me, and some mixed results there. I did read 3.5 kind of romance novels, which very, on theme with me. And then I also read 2 graphic novels, one of which was nonfiction graphic memoir, and then I finished the month off with a picture book. And then of the books that I read, I would say I read 6 of them hard copies, and then the rest were ebooks. I didn't listen to any audiobooks this month, which was not strange at all. I'm not really reading as many audiobooks since I'm working from home now. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the month of July did start out with Summerween, which is the Halloween-esque readathon that Gabby from Gabby Reads and Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte hosts, and I participated in it. Great fun. The first book I read was Hunted by Darcy Coates. This was also for my personal book club, and I gave this book, I'm going to say 4 stars. I'm still kind of like, I don't know. I really liked a lot of aspects of this book. The one downside, I think it was a bit too long for me. And some of the character development I thought was kind of strange, but overall I did really enjoy this book, and I liked the ending. I liked that it wasn't too scary for me because I'm not super into horror. So overall, it was a pretty good book. So this follows a group of people who are searching through a forest because the main character of the group, his sister, has gone missing in this forest, and so they decide to hike out and try to figure out like what's going on, try to find her. And some things happen because there have been things happening in these woods, and I thought it was very clever how the author kind of made it realistic in the way like how it'd been going on for so long. So I really enjoyed it in that way. I liked the main character. I really liked the police character in this. I thought she was really great. I liked her whole storyline and how she figured out who done it and whatnot. I thought it very good. Again, it was just, it's so long. It did not need to be that long for me. And so yeah, I highly recommend if you like horror. If you're not a huge horror fan but you want to try reading some horror, I think this one might be a good start because it's not too scary. Like, there were a couple times where like, I'm not going to read this at night because something might happen that might terrify me. Nothing was super terrifying, but it still had its very thrilling and heart-racing times, so highly recommend. I'm going to group 3 books together, and that's because I read 3 Ruby Dixon science fiction romances this month. I read Bad Guy and 2 of the Ice Planet Barbarians, Barbarian's Prize and Barbarian's Mate. Giving them all 3 stars. Again, like I said this in a previous video, they're all kind of the same, which isn't a bad thing for me. I find that kind of not comforting per se, but just like reassuring to know like at the end of the day of a stressful day that I can count on a book for what I want, which is, you know, a happy ending. So I liked them in that way. I I like science fiction a lot. It is probably, I always say it's my favorite genre. I mean, romance is probably my favorite genre, but put fantasy romance, science fiction romance, golden. Okay, so if you are into science fiction romance, highly recommend Ruby Dixon. All of her books are kind of ridiculous, but they're also really fun. So again, all 3 stars. They're all just okay reads. Nothing has blown me away yet in this series. But yeah, it's just fun. And then the standout book that I read for Summerine was A Gift for a Ghost, and this is by Borja Gonzalez. I loved this graphic novel. It is so interesting. I loved the artwork. It's about, it's got 2 storylines where one of them is, I think it's like the 1800s, about a girl who, like, her mother is trying to prep her to become a wife, and she just wants to write, like, horror poetry. And then the other timeline is this group of girls who are in a band, and they have no musical talent, but the main, like, songwriter, she wears costumes all the time. I'm thinking as part of a coping mechanism / like social, like it helps her be more social kind of thing. And the timelines, they don't like intersect, but they kind of connect in a way that I thought was really interesting. And I really liked the artwork, and I just thought, like, while it was a bit confusing, I just really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I highly recommend it. If you like horror novels, this is not scary in any way, but it does have that aspect of horror themes that these characters really like. So I recommend it for that. If you like graphic novels, I highly recommend. It's just an interesting story, and the artwork is just really awesome. Also, it is a translated graphic novel, and I think that's the first translated graphic novel I've ever read, so that was pretty cool too. The last book that I finished for Summerine was Voices in the Snow by Darcy Coates. This second Darcy Coates that I've read. I am giving this one, I'm gonna say 3 stars, just because I found it to be very slow and a bit repetitive. The setup of this novel is that our main character in the beginning is driving to pick up her aunt on her way to go to her sister's bunker because something was on the news. We don't know in the very beginning. And she loses her memory because she gets into a car crash in the middle of a blizzard. So when she wakes up, she's in this manor. She doesn't remember what happened, and there's this mysterious man who saved her and is taking care of her, and she basically is like, can I trust him? Things happen in the house, and then we eventually, as well as the main character, when she regains her memory, finds out what's happening in the world. This is the first book in a 4-book series. I am probably going to continue with it eventually. I'm not very good with sticking to series, but I liked it enough. It has a kind of zombie apocalypse, kind of, like, general vibe. And I really enjoy that kind of vibe. I love zombie movies. They're like my favorite kind of horror type movies, I guess. And disaster type movies. I love it. And then also like Isolated in Winter Storm. Also love that kind of trope. So, and there's like a speckle of romance in it, and you know I love romance. So like, it was a good book. Maybe I will give it 4 stars. I don't know. I'm so confused about star ratings lately. Because I liked it overall. It's just that there were some things, there was a twist in the end that I did not like, and I didn't find it very necessary. But I liked it enough that I'm interested in continuing with the story and finding out more about what's going on in the world, and also what happens to our main characters. So I recommend, if you like zombie horror. It's not very scary. Again, there are a few like jump scare type things, but it's not like terrifying, giving you nightmares. And it is kind of tropey, but I feel like Darcy Coates is kind of known for that, to be like a tropey horror novelist, which I don't mind. So yeah. I also read The Maidens by Michaelides for my personal book club, and I'm giving this book 1 star. Now, I have a whole vlog talking about my experience reading it and more about why I didn't like it, so I'm not going to go into great detail here, but I'm going to say that the ending here for this book was very unsatisfying for me. There are specific types of thrillers that I don't like, and I thought this was not going to be one of those types of thrillers, and it is. So that was really disappointing for me. There was also just like, this book was, while he has a good writing style, and I feel like he did a lot of research, it just, while like his writing, like the words that he's writing, the sentences, that is the part that's good. He just didn't write it well, and that it doesn't, there are parts of it that don't make sense. Like, I felt like he tried to take a lot of shortcuts in this book. I did annotate quite a bit through this book just because I was reading it for my book club, but yeah, there are a lot of things that I did not like in this book. I felt like there were some aspects of it that were quite sexist that I did not care for, and it just wasn't very good. And it was really disappointing because this is one of my most anticipated books of the year, just because like the cover is so intriguing. There was that aspect of Greek tragedy and literature, which I liked, the actual like references in the book to the literature and the Greek tragedy and whatnot, but it just wasn't used well. And I think that's a big downfall of this book. So highly disappointed in this book. Probably will unhaul it at one point. And then I decided to kind of spontaneously join into Mara from Books Like Whoa hosted a Nora Roberts readathon for the last 2 weeks of July, and I only learned about it halfway through the last week. So I decided to just join in and read her favorite book by Nora Roberts, which was The Obsession, and I'm giving this book 4 stars. I do think it is a very good Nora Roberts. It's very tropey, like a lot of her books are. Just to give you the setup of this book, it is about Naomi, who as a young child discovers that her father is a serial killer, and she's the one who basically ends up bringing him to justice. And because of that, and because he's like such a notorious serial killer, like she's on the run, not on the run, but she's just like, she travels a lot for the rest of her life because she's terrified of people finding out who she is. Like, there was a book written about the whole thing, and there was a movie, and so she just doesn't like having that like being a part of the media. And so she ends up coming to this small town and buying this house, doing a Reno project, which we all know, if you're a Nora Roberts fan, is one of her favorite tropes. She loves a good renovation, which is not a big, like, it's not a problem. I enjoyed it too. And then, you know, obviously this is a thriller romance, suspense romance. I would say it's more on the suspense than it is the romance, while there is obviously a romance because it's a Nora Roberts. It is not the main focus of the book. The suspense part I felt like was drawn out. Like, this book I think is like 450 pages kind of, and it probably could have been under 400 pages. So it was a bit too long for me. And one thing that I don't like about Nora Roberts is that she does the whole not like other girls kind of thing, which she does it in pretty much all of her books, which to me, like, if all of her main characters are not like other girls and they're exactly the same, meaning they are like other girls. So I just find it annoying. There's like this scene in the book where our main character is going out with the love interest, and she's like, okay, let me grab my wallet, you know, and he was like shocked because she's not like carrying a purse full of junk, and he's like, oh, well, other girls always have like a giant purse full of a whole bunch of junk, and like for some reason that makes her amazing and a wonderful like love interest. Like, it's stupid, and it just drives me crazy because she pretty much does it in all of her books. But again, it's not like so annoying that it keeps me from reading her books. It's just something that will, until she stops using it, I don't know that I would give any of the books that I'm recently reading 5 stars. Now, I have loved all of her books in the past when I wasn't as picky when it comes to this trope that is just shoved down your throat. But yeah, so that's probably my main complaint, and the fact that it's so long. I mean, like, some of the tropes that she has in her books, I do love, like, the renovation projects. Love those. They also, like, always have a quirky small town vibe, which I'm also loving that, which I'm like, do those actually exist? Because if they do, I want to move there. I would love to live in these quirky small towns. But yeah, so I'm going to give this book 4 stars. I found it completely predictable. Like, when the suspense part of it, I completely figured it out. Like, halfway through the book, I knew who it was. But that doesn't bother me. It's more about the journey getting there than actually, like, the big reveal for me. So I just really enjoyed it. I thought that it was well written. The description was really good. She lives in, I think it's Oregon. And she lives, like, on this bluff, and, like, there's, like, the cliff and the ocean, and there's, like, forest, and I felt like the imagery was just very well done. So I recommend it. If you're a Nora Roberts fan, I can see why this is Mara's favorite Nora Roberts, so it's a good one. I also read How to Be Ace, a memoir of growing up asexual, and this is by Rebecca Burgess. This is her graphic memoir. I'm giving this book 4 stars. One, just because the artwork it's not my favorite. It just not something that I love, which to each their own, you know. I will say that I feel like this happens a lot with nonfiction graphic novels, that a lot of the authors use titles that don't really represent their books, while, like, I would say the majority of this book is about her growing up asexual. She really heavily talks about her struggles with OCD, and I feel like it should have been more like How to Be Ace, a memoir of growing up asexual, and I don't want to say it with OCD, but, like, I feel like there should have been mention of it because it was so heavily involved in this. And I think it's a major part of her life, and to leave it out of the title, I feel like is a little bit misleading for me. But anyway, I thought it was a very well done graphic novel memoir. I've read quite a few of them. And I really enjoyed, like, hearing more about how she grew up. And there's something that I really liked about this book, how she talks about in society and our culture that the major goal in life is to get married and have kids, and if you don't achieve that, then there's something wrong with you. And, you know, like, I feel that all the time. Like, I don't ever want to get married or have kids, and I know people see me as less, or maybe will always see me as a child or childish because of that. Like, I know, you know, you go to family reunions or, like, family gatherings, and every single person says, like, oh, do you have a boyfriend yet? No, I don't want one. And of course, if I told them that, they would look at me like I'm crazy, or say something like, and she says this in her book too as well, how, like, oh, you just haven't found the right person yet. And I'm just like, just say, like, oh, okay, you know? So I really identified with that part of the book. And I do like, also, at the end of each chapter, she has, like, a little snippet about different aspects of asexuality and things like that. There is one that I found really interesting about how we don't really see asexual characters in media, and she talks about Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and how the main characters are asexual, but in a romantic relationship kind of. And she sees, like, a tweet from Neil Gaiman. One day I came across a conversation online about the show Good Omens. Someone asked the writer, Neil Gaiman, if the 2 main characters love each other. His answer? Absolutely. I wouldn't exclude the idea that they are ace or aromantic or trans. Whatever Crowley and Azrael are, it's a love story. And I just thought that was really nice to see that. Makes me want to read the book more and see the show as well, since it's got David Tennant in it, you know? But yeah, so I didn't quite connect with it as much, just because of her story not being something that I really experienced, but I do feel like it was well done, except it's like that OCD part that not being mentioned in the title, that is probably the reason why I'm knocking it down to a 4-star, as well as, like, not loving the artwork, which I guess, like, it's kind of rude because it's her art style. Why would I knock it off because I don't like it? So that's terrible. So maybe I'm just not going to rate this at all because it's a graphic memoir, and why would you rate someone's memoir, you know? So there you go. But I do highly recommend it if you like graphic novels, if you like graphic novel memoirs, if you want to know more about asexuality or people who are asexual. I do think it's very interesting because at the end of the book she talks about how asexual people, all of these issues are felt harder when they are so often trivialized by consistently angry commentary from people online, even within the LGBT plus community. Talking about how like people in the LGBT plus community don't see asexuality as something that should be represented in the community, and how that was really hard for her and a lot of people who identify as asexual. So I thought that was interesting, and also like just makes it even harder, you know? So I recommend it. And then quickly, the last book that I read in June was If I Had a Little Dream by Nina Laden and Melissa Castrillon. It's a cute little picture book. One of my coworkers is having a baby in September, and even though I'm new, felt like it would be good coworker bonding to send her a book, and of course for her baby shower, because if I'm gonna give a gift at a baby shower, it's gonna be a book. So I just put a lot of books, picture books on hold at the library just because I want to read through them first. And this one's really cute. I like how there's a lot of metaphor for different words, and I thought that was a cute way to tell this cute little story about this little girl. I'm just gonna read it to you. If I had a little dream, I would name it you. You would make life magical where wishes do come true. So it's cute like that. So I think this would be a good option. So keeping that in mind when the other books come in. And that is it for my July wrap-up. I read 10 books. An interesting reading month, as I didn't read a lot of what I have been reading in like June when I was reading the 30 books. So quite different. Read 2 horror novels in 1 month. Gasp. Read 2 thrillers, Nora Roberts being the kind of thriller, because it's like a thriller romance. Crazy. And I definitely say that graphic novel, A Gift for a Ghost, was my favorite book of July. So tell me what your favorite book you read this month. Tell me in the comments. And if you've read any of these books, let me know what you think about them. So that'll be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you will give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. And I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye!